Why do you do YouTube? Why do you make these videos? You put in all this work, time, and even money for just a few views. Why do you do it? I don't really know. I like creating things though. Is that all? I mean, I guess. What's up? Nothing. You have a new video to do, don't you? Best you get on with it, right? Yeah. Uh, right. The astute viewer will recognize that I mentioned this game quite a while ago, specifically during my Steam Next Fest June video where I got a chance to actually play this game's demo. I thoroughly enjoyed what I played then, and I had been greatly anticipating this game's full release. But before we jump into talking more about the game, let's do a little bit of housekeeping, shall we? There isn't much public information available regarding the developer, but I was able to find a fairly brief interview from Anthony Wallace on RetroDodo where the developer talks about themselves and the game just a little bit. A link to that article will be in the description. Goodbye World is a beautiful pixel art visual novel that has the events of each act broken up by little segments of a simple platformer game called Blocks. It was developed by YOFUJII, a solo developer in Japan who had been working at the Japanese game development studio CyberConnect 2 from his graduation up until 2021. They had started making games around 2013 after discovering that they enjoyed making them during their time of developing Android apps as a hobby. In fact, the previously mentioned platformer game Blocks, featured in Goodbye World, is a game that they had made when they were in vocational school, and they styled it after the Nintendo Game Boy handheld in its style of games. The inspiration for the retro aesthetic doesn't stop there, as the visuals for the rest of the game had been inspired by Mother 3 and the more recent title Eastward, which is another game that I actually have been meaning to try. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and break down the rest of the game. Working on that new video? Yeah, just about to start talking about the game itself. Alright, I'll leave you to it. What did you mean by that question earlier? The one asking me about why I do YouTube. Nothing. I just wanted to see why you really do this. Well, I've thought about the question more. Oh? Why do you do YouTube then? In Goodbye World, you'll be following the story of Connie and Kumare, a programmer and a graphics artist who meet in college and decide to make video games with one another once they graduate. At first, their partnership seemed to be for the best, and they even win a game development competition with one another. But some time after graduating, things don't go as smoothly, as reality began to set in. The games they are making aren't selling. Both of them are stuck working part-time jobs to keep afloat. Connie can't hold down a job, and things are slowly starting to weigh in on the two. Kumare seems to be the more stable of the two, as she's holding down her cafe job and seems to be quite happy doing so, while Connie begins losing sight of why she began making games in the first place, and finds herself chasing trends and what's popular. Connie loses that passion she had before, because game development has become her job. Kamade even at one point asks her why she makes games, and her response was simply to get a job in the industry. Kamade, on the other hand, when posed the question as to why she draws, she answers she likes to create a feeling and emotion within others, and it makes her feel alive. It's just that art is one of the best ways for her to do so. The drastic differences in their answers show how different their mentalities are. Connie isn't creating things she wants or cares about, she just wants to appeal to the masses and be appealing to others, while Kamade is almost the opposite and wanting to create to bring about emotions in others. When you think about it, it's almost like a sort of corporate versus local idea of doing things. The corporate side wants money and does things to get more of it, while more local or independent groups create for their love of the medium and how they can affect others. Money in this sense is just a byproduct and allows those to continue doing what they love. This aside, Kamade had taken notice of Connie's lack of happiness when it came to them pursuing game development after graduating, and wanted to stick around as she hoped things would get better, but they never did. Doing what was right for her, she left, taking up full-time work at the cafe she originally worked part-time at, leaving Connie on her own. Kamade states that she's happy where she's at now, but what cemented things for her was how Connie seemingly could not remember the promise they made to each other before they had gone on their venture. So, with Kamade gone, Connie is alone, and is very upset. Some time passes and Connie even eventually attempts to pitch a game to a publisher on her own accord, but is turned down after being told that most of Connie's appeal as a developer was the art in her games. And with Kamade gone, publishers saw no value in Connie's games or her. All Connie did was make a game she cared about for once and actually wanted to make, but was ultimately turned down because it wouldn't sell. This devastated her, and she reflects back on everything they had gone through. The competition they won was because of Kamade. The publisher she got hired to work with only did so because of Kamade's art. She wouldn't have been able to create a game for her assignment without Kamade. Connie never forgot their promise, but didn't admit to knowing it, as she'd be admitting that making games had become suffocating. Their promise was that they would quit if they began to not find enjoyment in what they were doing, to quit if game development became a chore. Connie wanted Kamade back and devised a plan to have her come over and test the game she had made, but also sneak in a message about asking Kamade to try game development again with her. After everything's prepped, Kamade agrees to come over and test out the game that Connie had made, but ultimately doesn't show up. As work just gets too busy, Connie's overwhelmed by her emotions, snaps, and ends up taking her own life. It's at this point that we realize that the mini-games we've been playing have been Kamade testing out Connie's game, and finally reading all the messages left by Connie wanting to try again. Blocks was the game Connie actually wanted to make, and actually cared about. On a happier note, the developer leaves an Easter egg after the credits, where Kamade is seen talking to Connie about the story of the game we just played, implying that Goodbye World was the game that they made together, even referencing lines Connie had mentioned towards the beginning of the game about having a twist in the story. This is the story of Goodbye World, and although it's cliche, I feel directly connected to these characters and what they are going through, especially Connie. Without getting too personal, my dreams and aspirations go against the grain, especially with what's expected of me, and I find myself struggling with that. I've worked both part-time and full-time jobs before while trying to juggle school and personal projects. I've wanted nothing more than for one of my personal projects to kick off, but with self-doubt, mental troubles, and eventually burnout, I've seen not a single one turn out well. Even though I don't plan on giving up on some when visiting them in the future, the fact it became suffocating for me was undeniable. I want nothing more than to do what makes me happy, because I can't stand the idea of being stuck doing something I hate for the rest of my life. I'll of course try my damnedest to achieve my goals and reach for my dreams, because I make YouTube videos not just because I like to create. I make YouTube videos because I find them fun and it makes me happy. Sure, it sucks seeing low view counts for views I truly try and put my hard work into, and it sucks to lose subscribers. But playing these games, researching topics, writing these scripts, and publishing these videos are fun. I get to voice my opinions on games, share games to the world, to those who may not even know that they exist, and more. I make videos because it makes me happy. I love creating these videos because it makes me happy. And if what I can create can be enjoyed by even the smallest amount of people, then that's all the more better. I like to create, and I get to create YouTube content and grow as a creator with each upload. And that makes me happy.